What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and if you couldn't tell just from the tone of my voice, yes, I am sick. But with that in mind, we're going to be checking out a very sick guitar. See what I did there? We're going to be checking out this Kramer Voyageur. Now, even though this thing looks like it is right from 1984 without the lipstick and the leather, regardless of what year it was built in, this is probably one of the sickest guitars that we're going to be checking out this year for many, many reasons. This guitar did not start out life like this. I give this guitar a very significant overhaul. This guitar more or less came to me as a husk, which means that this guitar had no strings on it, no bridge, no pickups. It had these little mini switches here. It had another volume pot, and it had the tuners on the headstock, but otherwise that's it, and I pretty well did everything else to get this guitar up to speed and ripping for the customer. And if it wasn't a little obvious, there was a lot of work to be done on this guitar. I'm going to walk you through all the mods and the restorations that I had to do to this guitar based on the specs that we cover. So this guitar probably has an alder or like a mahogany body. I'm not too sure. Did some research, couldn't really find much. This guitar has a maple neck with that sweet old Kramer banana headstock, and again, this is just so 80s. Some people might call it the hockey stick headstock. So 80s, so sick. This is really cool back here. This is to hold the Allen wrenches for your Floyd Rose trim and the locking nut, so they don't just get lost in space and time. So this is a really sweet feature here. There are two thumb screws back here. You just unscrew them, slide the Allen keys in, screw them down, and they are good to go right there. Very, very nice. We have some regular non-locking tuners. Something I did just to make sure that these tuners were going to work, put a little bit of that gear oil into the tuners, and then spun them around with one of those peg winders on a drill just to make sure all that gear oil got into the actual gears that are in a tuning machine head. And if those machine heads were seized up, those are then going to be breaking free and being able to work properly with that gear oil. Same thing with the truss rod. I put some gear oil in there and then just moved it back and forth to the Allen wrench. Again, I'm not sure when the last time this guitar was actually properly set up or cared for, so I did my due diligence, and you should do that as well if you are getting a guitar that has sat for a long time. Just put a little bit of gear oil in all of those moving parts just to make sure they are working properly. We then hydrated the fingerboard. We then cleaned up the frets with some steel wool, and you don't really need much to clean up those frets, and yeah, just look at that. Looks way better. Looks like a brand new guitar. On the back here, this is a bolt-on design here. This guitar actually came in with only 3 bolts on the neck here, which was a little concerning. You could probably get away with it, but I really wouldn't. I managed to find a 4th bolt just from another guitar that I am working on, throw it in here, and we are good to go. This guitar also has a crazy outlandish shape. I mean, it's kind of like an Explorer X-Stroyer, and also kind of nodding to some of my favorite shapes as well. So yeah, very cool. This crackle paint job is literally just so sick. I love crackle paint jobs, and just with this color here, like this faded yellow and this faded like white color on the black, like, yeah, hard to beat. Super 80s and just super a fan of it. I threw some strap locks on the guitar down here. Very easy, just screwed them in. I then installed this Godot 1996 Floyd Rose here, and these Floyds are really, really great. It's a great double locking trim, sounds really great, installs really easily as well. And then installed a new claw and springs on the back here. Very easy to do. I went the extra mile and did this just to kind of give the whole guitar a new set of life and put some really high quality components in this guitar. This guitar had the original one on the back here, and who knows how long that's been in here for, so we might as well just kind of replace it with something fresh and brand new. I then had to install one of these Floyd Rose locking nuts up here. The interesting thing about these Floyd Rose locking nuts, and specifically these import guitars, is that there's really no rhyme or reason on the locking nuts. They were just kind of cut and built however, because the Floyd Rose design, whether it's the bridge or the nut, is actually licensed. So the design really wasn't consistent back in the day as it is now with models such as the Floyd Special or the 1000 series. It kind of streamlined a lot of this process. Also, one final thing with these nuts on these guitars, especially these licensed nuts, and if you're trying to upgrade them to an original Floyd Rose nut, the mounting holes that mount the nut to the actual neck are definitely going to be off from an original Floyd Rose versus a licensed Floyd Rose, or just from licensed Floyd Rose to licensed Floyd Rose. So I did have to fill the existing holes on the actual neck here and then re-drill them and set the nut in, and then ultimately just file it down just so it actually sit properly. Especially a ton of work reshaping and sanding this area just so the new nut was actually going to sit properly, and Yeah, it sits properly now, but you know, tons of time in this area because you obviously want to really go slow with it because you can take off way too much material way too quick, and it's not really possible at times to add material back. So you really want to go slow and really watch what you're doing in this section here if you are in a situation like this. Getting down to the electronics and the final bits of the guitar here, we got a brand new output jack that we installed right down there. Stereo output jack, because you need a stereo output jack for active pickups. And we have 3 Fishman Fluence Modern pickups in here. And this was kind of one of the harder parts of this restoration. This did kind of throw me for a loop for a little bit for a couple different reasons. The first thing was that we have 3 Fishman Moderns in this guitar here. And when you buy a set of Fishman Modern pickups, they come as a set of 2, or they just come as a pair. And they come with enough wiring for 2 pickups. So I then thought to myself, okay, well, a third shouldn't be too bad. I might be able to kind of, you know, jimmy up something. And it turns out I needed 2 full sets of wiring for these Fishman pickups here, which is a little bit frustrating. Didn't know that until we were kind of neck deep into rebuilding this guitar as it is what it is. I thought I could get away with maybe using like a Fishman single coil set of wiring, but those have different connection points as well. And it is what it is. So we just had to improvise, get another set of wiring, and then rewire this totally different, because on Fishman's website, they're only going to give you wiring diagrams that are going to relate to how you should install the Fishman in a modern guitar, not a guitar with 3 mini switches to turn on and off these individual pickups here. This is a very 80s technique here. A lot of 80s guitars came wired up this way. If it was the style of the time, we don't really do that nowadays with guitars. Usually these mini switches are for coil splitting or something like that. So what I had to do at the end of the day was ditch all the Fishman wiring diagrams, jump all of these wires, which you might have seen on my Instagram, to all of these mini switches back here, to the pot, then to the output jack, just to make sure everything worked. Because again, there's nothing on Fishman's website to actually get you wired up like this. And it's no fault of theirs, it's just this is an outdated electronic system that we just don't see on guitars anymore. So I'll throw a wiring diagram on screen so you can kind of see how I wire this thing up, but this works, it makes sound. We're only using voice 1 of these Fishman Moderns, which is what the customer wanted. Volume knob up here, and then otherwise we're just turning these pickups on and off. And I bet this is gonna sound really sweet, especially combining like the bridge in the middle or bridge and neck together, neck and middle. Like, I think we're gonna get some really sweet tones. So let's just plug this thing in and let's hear those sweet tones on this absolutely insane Kramer Voyager. So once again, this was a really fun project to kind of throw together, and you know, hindsight's 2020. I probably should have filmed this and walked you through the whole like restoration process of this and showed you in detail of everything that I kind of was frustrated with or struggled with or was scratching my head with. But I hope the pictures that I've shown on screen gives you a good idea of what you had to go through in some cases. You know, not every guitar repair is going to be easy, and not every guitar repair is going to take you 20 minutes. And especially if you're taking on a husk and a giant project like this is going to take some time. So really just don't rush yourself with it. Have some fun with it. And if you are lost, make sure you actually ask an expert, ask someone who's been doing it for a while, consult our friends at Google or YouTube, and you are going to be back on track in no time. But yeah, this is, again, a really fun project. It's fun going down memory lane with some of these really wild and wacky guitars like from yesteryear, and really just putting some new life into these things, especially with these new pickups. They sound fantastic. It's, again, really cool to like toggle them in and out and get some different wiring combinations and just some different tones in general with these mini switches. But yeah, just the modern guitar is different and you can't really get some of those options, but you know, hard to say if we're really missing much or anything. This would be a cool studio guitar for how versatile and how many tonal options we have with this thing here. So that's going to do it for me. I hope this video and the other videos that you check out on my channel have inspired you to maybe take on a project guitar for yourself, and that you've learned something from me and that you want to apply it to your own project guitar or just working on your own guitars in a bit more depth. If this is your first time checking out one of my videos, please consider subscribing. I have tons more videos related to today's topic, especially on these crazy pointy guitars, 80s guitars, guitar restoration tips, and other guitar related topics. And if you are a returning subscriber, make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video that I upload. Thanks for checking this out, and I will see you next time.